All right, so following our last round of DMCC, we basically lost because we couldn't get the rack changed in time.
We were close.
What we determined was the rack took around 15 minutes to change. We needed a couple extra minutes for a couple silly things. I'm gonna go over what those silly things were and why we were not able to get back on the track. We were like 1 minute short. The first of those things is having lines that were more easily changeable. That's probably the biggest thing. So we duplicated the lines. We had the spare rack, but we didn't have anything else. This is the return line. It's got a vibrant dry lock, quick disconnect. So this is going to stay and maintain as part of the spare rack. We also have the spare pressure line already attached. We determined that these two bolts do need to be loose when we put the rack in, because the lines have to be flopped this way, then flopped that way in order to get in the subframe. The other thing we did was take what was an issue where you need a 22 mil and a 19 mil, and we now only need a 19 mil. The other problem we found was I did not want to use an aluminum bolt for the banjo in the rack. Had nightmares about this because 10 years ago probably, I was daily driving my S13. I had an aluminum bolt on my power steering system. It let go, or it was leaking. I went to tighten it, it spun, and now my daily car, with no other way to get home from the track, has no power steering, it's leaking everywhere. And so I never wanted to use the aluminum bolts, I always wanted to use the steel ones, but then the steel one wasn't long enough. So I had to machine down the bolts quite a bit, probably 5 millimeters deeper. And then I actually put this in the lathe and machined both faces because these come in really tall. That makes it a bit slimmer, that makes it all fit a bit better, and it makes it really easy to install because now I just need a 19 millimeter times 2. The other thing we did was
you could get the keys to our drift car. A full day at the track with Josiah Fillets coaching you one-on-one. Get real feedback and focus on improving your driving. Go grab a shirt and let's go drifting.
Normally I have a button head bolt that goes here. And the reason you have a button head bolt is because on some steering racks, this actually needs to pass inside of the steering rack's case. But in my situation, I don't need the clearance. I have lots of clearance. So I opted out to go to a hex head, but then we have this pocket for clearance. So we machined this spacer, made it a press fit. So it's gonna stay there. Now, once again, another 19 millimeter. I can zap this on and off. That's gonna be super quick. The other thing we did was the tie rod misalignment spacers. They have a 2 thou clearance for the spacer to go in the heim joint. We removed that. We made them basically a press fit. Really annoying in almost all circumstances except for a quick steering rack swap. One of those spacers kind of kept falling out while I was fiddling it. There's 30 seconds. There was another 30 seconds with the Allen key. There was another minute and a half with dealing with these bolts. We also made a clear path within the car's wheel well. There was a bunch of stuff here. There was a reservoir, there was other things. We now have a quick path with 2 extensions. You can get on both of those steering rack banjo bolts. So now through the wheel well, turn the wheel to full lock, we have direct access right to the rack. We also have a spare rack plate set up. And then one other thing we did, which was really important. So the other issue we had, getting this whole plate inside the car, turned out to be part of the issue as well. You need to be able to kind of rotate the rack to get it up in there. And once it's in there, you could get the plate on easily. But then the problem is we don't have access to the tops of the bolts. So we just welded the tops of the bolts to this plate. And now these are acting as if they're studs so that we can put the rack and this plate in the car first, hook up the lines, hook up the steering shaft, then the plate can go on the bottom after. Again, probably 2 minutes of time saved of fiddling around that, once again, worth everything. We also did one thing on the steering rack where the OEM steering column connects here. The bolt head is facing the other way and the thread is here when the wheel's straight. So what we did was wheel straight, drive in, we rotated the steering wheel 180 degrees, and then we actually just re-put on our quick release so that the bolt is immediately the same direction as the other bolts. So we basically undo this pinch bolt, these 2 flats locate it, and we can pull it off remove the rack and put the other one on and put this back on, and it's going to be really easy and perfect. We actually were trying to change the rack by removing the spline joint, which required an extension, a hammer, and tapping this off. And then when we put it back on, we didn't care about the position at all. It wasn't going on that easily. And again, we probably lost 2 to 3 minutes there as well. So all of this is being done in hopes that in a year or two, we're at FD or something, a rack goes on us again. We're gonna be grateful that 2 years ago, or whenever this might happen, we lost our round of DMCC, collected 0 points, but all of the improvements were done based on that. So I had a spare pump, but we didn't have, what the heck? So we had a spare pump, but what we didn't have was the case with the quick change power steering pump mount, the quick disconnect on the return line, and then this is a different power plug. It's easier to undo. It's capable of handling more. So now this is a quick swap as well, if the power steering pump is what goes on the system. Totally possible, but we're also gonna be able to diagnose if that is going to be an issue, because like we did on James Dunn's Corvette that we built earlier, we have now a power steering sensor that reads on the dash. So we're gonna be seeing anywhere from 12 to 1300 PSI full pressure. If we're seeing lower than that, then we know that the system's issue is a blown seal or a power steering pump. If there's no leak anywhere, then it's likely the power steering pump, and that's a much easier swap. Unplug, unbolt, throw the new one in, good to go. Sensor's reading higher pressure, that was the issue. Easy diagnosis, all these sorts of things. You should be setting this stuff up, but once again, you can't possibly think of everything unless you've been there, done that, have the experience. This is the experience. So those are the improvements. We were going to do a 5-minute swap, but we're probably gonna do that after this round. So we're gonna simulate an actual incident. We have new racks coming from Sparky Built. He actually got our powder coating color. I didn't ask him either to do this. He got our powder coating color, powder coated all the steering racks, and gave us 3 rebuilds. We sent him the racks. We're gonna do the 5-minute time call, car up on jack stands, tools ready. We're basically gonna have a steering rack swap sheet that says these are the tools you're gonna need, get them ready, because in a 5-minute call, they allow you to put the car up, they allow you to safely jack it, they allow you to kind of gather tools while you're doing that, and then it's go. You have to fix the car in 5 minutes and put it on the wheels and be on the track. But we're gonna see if we can do that and how close we're gonna get to that 5-minute call with a power steering system swap. Really difficult to be able to do a rack in 5 minutes, mostly because of the fluids. If you're losing fluids, you basically need to have the system lose as little as possible so that you have someone adding it, because honestly, if you're doing a power steering system, it needs to not only be full, but also be running for a little bit to get the air out of it and all that stuff. We'll do that sometime next week probably, but we're gonna see how we do in this next round of DMCC. I know you guys have been waiting on the Legend Car angle kit. Basically, next week, the pre-order is gonna start. And when you see this video, it's only gonna be a couple more days before this kit is going to be ready to order. The goal is to get 10 orders for it on the pre-order. We'll build all 10, ship, sell. It's gonna help us with the production side of things because let's face it, we're not gonna sell hundreds of these or thousands, maybe one day, but we're gonna get the ball rolling with the pre-order. Still unsure on the price, that's what we're waiting on. We're waiting on photos with an official kit, powder coated our colors and everything, and we're waiting on our bill of materials, putting it all together and seeing what this actually costs us to produce so that we can give you guys the best price and it makes sense for us to build it. So that is gonna be coming up next. We're gonna be doing a couple shows with this, so the next thing for this car is to get it cleaned up and looking like an FDF drift car. Not sure how else we're gonna do that. There's also some really big YouTubers that are getting these cars, buying our kit, and they're going to be drifting them with a custom 3D printed body kit that does resemble a very common drift car. So if you don't know what I'm saying, in about a month, you will know who it is and what car they're doing and how sick that's gonna be. They got a 1250cc engine, so it's the exact same setup as mine, and it is not in North America. So that'll be really exciting to see how that all transpires. They're buying a kit, they're gonna set it up. All in all, that's it for this video. The next one you see is gonna be how we did at this competition. So hopefully we don't need to do a steering rack, but if we do, we're ready for it.